This is Talk is Sheep, a podcast by the Wild Sheep Society of British Columbia. Come along as we take conversations that matter to you into the high alpine.
Steve-O.
I know that guy.
Episode 38.
Already?
Mountain Neanderthal.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, like how the hell? Like really, what are the chances you get two guys with the same last name on the same podcast that aren't related?
Yeah, for sure. So Josh Hamilton's on the show. Great listen with Josh. So he's been a director on this with the society now for a number of years, really active in the North and just doing some fantastic work. On this podcast is pretty cool. Josh jumps into a bunch of stuff, and actually he was on the edge of tears. I think he was pretty emotive there when he started talking about special sheep permit. And he was
like, I can't say I blame him. I really can't.
Very emotional, which is cool when you see a guy like that that's so passionate about wild sheep and conservation and about hunting wild sheep and see him that that involved and emotional about it. It's pretty cool to hear. You can just hear it in his voice, right? So pretty cool podcast. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, totally. There's been a few people that have won the special sheep tag, and you know that they're not as passionate as somebody like Josh. And it was just, oh, cool, I won an LEH, and they didn't really understand the meaning of that tag behind them. And yeah, it's great to see it go to somebody deserving that actually knows the meaning.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing in this job, and you know better than anyone, Steve. You know you're at the top of the list when it comes time to put in work and effort in, and all this volunteer effort that goes in and the time you're spending. And then you get a guy like Josh that has put the time in like that, and to get kind of, I don't know if it's karma or rewarded or whatever you want to call it, but it's just nice to see somebody that truly cares, and then to get a privilege like that, it's pretty cool.
And he's going to make use of it. Like there's no doubt in my mind he's going to take full advantage of what he's got in front of him, and he knows the seriousness of it. He's going to cash in.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just a couple housekeeping. Wild Sheep Society BC has two really cool raffles out. The first one's through our Jurassic Classic event, and that is a Sacco rifle with a Steiner scope. Full donation from Sacco and Steiner. A beautiful setup. It's almost a $6,000 package, I think, is MSRP on that. Just gorgeous. Finlight 85, just stunning rifle. So we've got a few tickets left. It's over three-quarters sold out already. There won't be any left at the event. So if anyone's keen on getting some tickets, they should do that right away. And we've got what is this trailer thing? It's freaking cool. I don't even know. Every time I go to explain it, I can't.
It's Doghouse Tents is the donor, and it's basically a tow behind trailer that it's an all-in-one. You've got a tent, you've got your camping kitchen, you've got everything you need, and it's off-road capable, and it's light enough that even a Ford could pull it. Yes, I'm looking in your direction, Kyle. So anyway, yeah, it's a pretty kick-ass setup, and tickets on that are what, $50 a piece, and it's a $10,000 setup. It's a
$10,000 tent. Yeah,
it's a crazy setup, and that's the way a lot of these backcountry escapes are going now, right? It's right on the edge of glamping, right? It's not quite there, but you pop a button, this thing is ready to go. So it's a pretty kick-ass setup, and I'm looking forward to borrowing it from whoever wins it. Even if we don't know each other, we should be friends.
Yeah. No, it's I'd love to have that thing too, for sure. So anyway, two real cool raffles over to wildsheepsociety.com @sheepsociety.com/raffle. Get your tickets, and we're going to sell them out. And so don't wait around. So we're on the eve of the opener here. So we're dropping this on Monday the 26th ish. So 1 week to go, and people are going to be in the hills. I'm heading out. I'm going to be chasing sheep for the opener. We're front loading these podcasts ahead of time, trying to get, I think we're doing 4 this week. So that I can take off in August, then I come back, and then we're going to have to do another 4 so you can take off and chase caribou and sheep in September. Right. So
exactly. Good couple of weeks coming. Some great content though. I'm excited for some of our guests coming up. I really am.
Oh, dude. Well, you've been working hard, and you got some really cool names coming on the show, and some big names too. So, and some non-traditional names as well. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait for it. And lots of great guests coming on the show. And I really enjoy doing this. So, and that's just one thing for our guests. We're getting lots of great ideas. We're trying to get the people on here. It's always tough during the summer and fall to get sheep hunters on here, but we're hearing guys want to hear more sheep stories, guys and gals. So we're working on that. We're going to try and get some really cool old outfitters on the show, and probably more so this winter. But we really appreciate the feedback and getting back to us. We've heard good reviews about the audio quality with our new podcast platform. So keep that coming in. And if there's anything you want to see differently, we know this is a killer long one with Josh, but there's so much content to cover. We're always trying to keep it around that 1 hour mark. But anyway, let us know what you want to hear. We'll do our best to deliver as always. So
don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. That's how we know we're getting good engagement. We get some people messaging us, but unless you're subscribing, we don't really know. So hit that subscribe button and get that notification coming as soon as we drop this. We're everywhere you podcast.
Right on, buddy. So with that, I want to wish everyone a good luck in the hills. Have a safe hunt, and just keep your mind on doing the right thing from the conservation perspective. Shoot the oldest ram you can. Make sure they're legal. If there's any doubt, walk away. Yeah. And if you need some resources, get over to our website and check out. We got 2 really cool horn aging videos. One from Bill Jex, one from Clay Lancaster. So great resources there. So don't hesitate to watch those. I've been hunting sheep for 15 years. I learn every single year, and every year before I go in the field, I watch those videos and do my research. And one of the most important things you're going to do when you're out there in terms of conservation is making sure you shoot an old ram. So.
Yeah, I've learned so much from those webinars. Like as you said, every time I watch them, it's just like, wow, I never thought of that. Like during this podcast, you guys aren't going to be able to see it, but Josh he's sharing his screen. He's holding up a beautiful ram, and I'm sitting there going, okay, that looks to be about 9.5 years old. Don't know if I'm right, but that's what I got on it. Maybe Josh can fire me a message and let me know if I was right. You know the one I'm talking about. He's holding it and looks to be past that thing was it was a stat. 9.5, 10 years old is what I got out of it from just watching these seminars. But there's so many things I learned from that every single time. So great resources we got there. Some great people that have donated their time to us.
Right on. So we'll send you off to listen to them.
Across Canada and throughout the world, if you come across a campfire in the woods, on a mountaintop, or next to a river, you'll find warm company and friendly people gathered around. Regardless of your lifestyle or place you call home, we invite you to learn more about what it means to be a hunter in the modern era. If you love the outdoors, care about where your food comes from, and are concerned for the future of wildlife and the environments that they need to survive, pull up a seat. We have a story to tell. Welcome to our campfire.
Josh Hamilton, Director of Wild Sheep Society BC. How's it going, man?
Good, you?
Awesome. Looking pretty stealthy there. You got the Dirk Diggler mustache. Looking good, bud.
Yeah, the beard's gone, so I had to have something.
Yeah. So, okay, here we are. 2 weeks to run to sheep season, a little less. So you got anything on the go this fall? You going to do any sheep hunting? And probably go maybe elk or caribou or something. Probably no sheep, eh?
You know what? The last few years, I haven't got a lot of sheep hunting in. I did lots years before that, but the last 2 years, just with younger children and work and stuff, I haven't been able to get away as much. So I planned myself a pretty good year this year.
So what are you going to chase stones, or what's your plan there for the fall then?
A few different types, maybe. I got some to guide and some for myself, so I got a good mix. Yeah, we'll get into it to the closer to the end there, but yeah, I'm going to be hunting thinhorn and bighorn both this year.
Okay, good. That's exciting. Yeah, I look forward to hearing all about it. Okay, so you're a director with the Wild Sheep Society BC. You've been on the board now for a number of years. You do a ton of heavy lifting in the north. I know you got involved with the Northern Fundraiser, but kind of the thing I recognize you for above everything is really your project work. You're so vested, and so can you just talk a little bit about how you got into the wild sheep conservation world and I guess what it means to you, really, Josh?
Yeah, I don't know. I spent quite a few years in the mountains, and then me and a friend decided to travel down to Kamloops there, and one of the friends had intentions of running as a director, and he let us know that on the way down. And then it was a few years ago when there wasn't enough applicants to fill the spot, so I got nominated and I got voted in, and since then, I guess my main focus has kind of been on habitat and the project side of habitat stuff. So trying to focus where we could bring dollars back into the north and get them on the ground. I have interest in a lot of the other projects around the other places of BC too, but definitely I try to focus here on the north for sure.
Right on. And I think that's the strength of our society. We have a really good mix of guys and girls down south, and then we have 4 directors in the north, and you guys just do a ton of heavy lifting, and you really look after the Northern Fundraiser. And then, that money's going into that Northern account, and you guys are making sure it's spent wisely on the ground. So I want to jump into a bunch of the project stuff shortly, but before we do that, what's the day job? Tell our guests what you do. What do you keep your time busy with outside of wild sheep work?
Well, number one job is a family man. I got 4 young children and a wonderful wife. We live here in Charlie Lake, just up the highway from Fort St. John. So yeah, that keeps me busy most of the time. We live on acreage and have horses and all the fun stuff. So that takes up a lot of time. About 4 years ago, I started a tannery. I was trapping lots and always was learning more and more about the hide care, I guess. And that kind of led to that. It's been a long road for the tannery side. I mean, as a business development, like from learning it, starting it, finding a recipe, growing the business, building equipment, and then honestly just getting it over my head and lots of it too, just having so much backlog, having staff, just the ins and outs of running a business, really, and then that kind of hits you. So where I'm at right now is I was in Fort St. John, set up for 4 years there almost, and now what I kind of call, like, I'm taking a controlled knee this year, just kind of remission the business. There's a lot more I think I want to try to do on the education side, for trapping and for hide care and stuff like that. To be able to tan everybody's hide myself, it just isn't realistic. I still like doing lots for fundraisers. I have given a lot to auctions. If it wasn't for sheep and other stuff, my business would probably be doing a lot better. I'd probably focus on the business more, but I spent a lot of those hours in there, thinking about sheep stuff or fundraising or projects or, bailing work to go on meetings. But I don't know, it's all kind of one journey in my mind. So whatever it is.
Right on, man. Yeah, it's fantastic. So you mentioned hide care. It's kind of topical and timely. We're rolling into the season here. So you said maybe at the start of the show before we got on air that you might be able to do a little bit of a presentation for us and talk about that. So, that's something that, I'm always trying to, learn tips and tricks and how much we need to bring and what we need to do. So, yeah, if you got anything you can share with us, I'd love to hear all about it, man.
Sure. I do have a visual slide, but as we talked, your listeners aren't going to hear that. So I'm going to try and be as descriptive as possible. And this will kind of go through, normally when directors sign on, they do kind of like a bio that goes in the magazine. I never did do one. So I'll kind of share a little bit about myself. We'll get into the hide care and go from there. And if you guys have questions, just ask them along the way.
Right on, man.
So I grew up in a hunting family, but not not to the extent that we do now. I think my dad made a really good honest effort of taking us out. I don't know if it was just when we were around or not, that we were mostly not successful. And he never got really into the big mountain species. He did do some hunting with my uncles and stuff as far as some sheep hunting, but it was pretty combative sheep hunting where we grew up, and he kind of didn't have much interest in it. But I think just the visuals of it, I think, just kind of left a mark that, for me to kind of look into later in life. We mostly just targeted deer. But yeah, it was kind of a good start. So then when I moved north, we kind of got into the mountain stuff. I moved north in 2007 and 2008. It was the first year I bought a sheep tag. My older brother, Ian, is probably one of the ones I looked up to most for hunting. We've done a lot together over the years, and just nobody just keeps going like him, really. But we were in before the lightweight stuff. We wore Carhartts and, external frame packs. I had a Mountain Equipment Co-op backpack. I had, just all kinds. The bare necessities is pretty much what we had. We were packing canned food and all kinds of stuff. And then eventually sheep hunting kind of led me into the horses stuff. I had a good friend that was able to kind of take me under his wing. I was pretty well a green dude for the first hunt. Couldn't even really put my saddle on myself. And then that morphed into just wanting to be more competent on the trail. So, riding clinics, and then I got it to own my own horses, just for the means of being able to go to the mountains. And that kind of worked into horsemanship to where I got, I've been able to rope and drag calves and, reining and just everything you can imagine. Colt starting has been a pretty good passion of mine over the last decade as well. It's good. Horses are a great thing, and it's a great way to see the country, especially the northern country. But I also like backpack hunting quite a bit, and I've done quite a few good expeditions. I think like later on we'll get into a discussion about more sheep hunting stuff. But like if I had a lifetime goal, I kind of think of sheep hunting as like it's like a lifelong story. Almost like if your whole life is like a artwork of adventures. Backpacking, fly-in, boat trips, horse trips, kind of all mix into one, and none of the same. And if I could get 100 sheep hunts in my lifetime, that would be life well lived in my mind. And yeah, with my brother, again, we've seen lots of stuff over the years. We've been able to go into places on horseback for bison. I've gone over some pretty historic trails and seen some sights. I was able to help my father-in-law. When he turned 40, we went and got him his first stone sheep. That was pretty special. It was my brother-in-law was along as well. I've been able to help some younger people get their sheep. But like I say, I've been hunting a lot with my brother. And this is from stone sheep to California bighorns. I've done very little Rocky Mountain bighorn hunting, and then some Dall sheep hunting as well. I've been pretty lucky to be able to guide in the Northwest Territories as well for moose caribou. The Mackenzie Mountains are just some of the last real untouched wilderness there is out there. I mean, there's no seismic line, no roads. When you're flying over it, you're just seeing caribou trails, interweave the willows down below. That's a pretty special place. The moose there are ridiculous. Just the size of the animal once you get it on the ground, it's just pretty overwhelming to deal with a bit. I've also got into the cat hunting. I think with anyone's evolution in sheep hunting, I think eventually you'll get into the cat hunting side of it. The cats and sheep kind of go, like peas and carrots when it comes to out there on the land, and so those cats can have pretty big effects on sheep populations. So I chose to find a hunt. I didn't have dogs. I found a hunt from a guy that I ended up actually guiding sheep for later on, and he was able to take me out cat hunting. The first year I was unsuccessful, but we treated a bunch of cats. We were kind of hunting a certain tom. It's a lot of work for anyone that thinks it's just going up and shooting a cat in a tree. It's not that.
So So Josh, how are you hunting them then? Like if you weren't using dogs, you find tracks and then you just track them by foot, or how do you do that?
No, the outfitter had dogs. Sorry, I was.
Oh, he did.
Like,
Okay,
we didn't have our own personal dogs to do it with, or any of my
Oh,
family
okay,
or
yeah.
friends. Is why I went with the outfitter.
Right.
But once then we had dogs. We usually ran 4. You'd cut a track. You kind of try to circle it up so that you can make sure you're on a fresher track and it hasn't left the area. So you do your best to circle it up. Sometimes there's canyons and stuff where you just can't. And then you let the dogs out, and we've had the cats circle on their own tracks, and the dogs will get going in a loop. We've had them go down through bluffs and hang the dogs up in cliffs. And then kind of the rule of thumb is never let out after 3 p.m. in the afternoon, because you're just asking to be running all night long. So, sometimes you got to catch up to the dogs, get ahead of them, and get them caught. But we were hunting a certain cat that was kind of in sheep areas. Never did get it. I think I bought it on a 7-day hunt, and we hunted 11 days. And then I got to go back the next year, and we were able to get everything finished up and was successful on a great tom. And I got into the trapping. Up north here, we got a lot of lynx. They kind of cycle with the rabbit population, and lynx trapping's been some of my favorite. Just beautiful fur, and lots where I was working too. I got into the wolf. Wolves is probably why I got into trapping. I could see what was happening with the moose population around where I was working. There's just a lot of winter access, and the wolf tracks were everywhere, and you would see. It got hard to be able to find a cow, and then, you definitely wouldn't see a calf with it by March. So we got fairly successful and fairly proficient there. That's a learning curve too. You'll lose sleep. It spent quite a few years to be able to be proficient at it. But that was it. Just spending that time outdoors in the forest and just kind of paying attention to the nuances of how things move. I mean, the whole idea is that you're trying to get an animal to be, come to your location and put its body in a certain position in a certain way. You're playing on all those nuances of the moving ecosystem, which I think is pretty neat. And the trapping kind of led me into, like I say, the hide care. Nothing's worse than trapping something and like finally meeting your goal, and then screw it up while you're skinning it. Some of these fur bearers are pretty thin-skinned, and kind of the top, quality was always a top of mind. So when there wasn't much fur dressing in the area, I started to look at, YouTube and other places where you can learn. And there wasn't a lot of information at the time. And there was actually a course down in Montana. It was a month-long course. I talked my wife into letting me go down there for that. And I took a month off of work and went to Montana and took a commercial tanning course. And that kind of gave me the recipe. And then I came home, spent a bunch of time building all the equipment and kind of refining my own recipe and techniques. I was training some staff. We did everything from weasel and like a white ermine all the way to bison. Some of those bison are big, man. Like I did one full body bison that I ended up doing a dry tan, and it went over to Poland. It's a big farmed bison. I mean, their leather up on their neck is about, almost 2.5 inches thick, 2 inches thick for sure in some spots. That the whole big face shield above their eyes all the way to the top of the tuft it's like a shield. It's just scarred up, scars. So when you start fleshing that down, that whole hide, you got to get down to a uniform thickness so that it can stretch nice for the taxidermist. And that's what you want. If you have it too thick, it'll start to it dries and it'll shrink more over time, and then you can start to have a drumming, which is a scenario like where the hide starts to pull off some of the low spots on your form over the years. So I mean, a hide is just going to continually dry. So if you got a mount and you're like a heater or your wood stove, it's kind of always not the greatest place for them. So you want to have some humidity control in there as well. But when we're looking at hides for taxidermy, the main thing we want is a lot of stretch and very little memory. We want that stretch to be out to pretty much the size it is at when the animal's alive. As soon as you cut it off and that moisture starts to come out of the skin, it's constantly shrinking. So the big thing of tanning is if you're going to salt or air dry a hide, like trappers air dry or salt it, you're removing all that moisture content. Your hide can shrink up to 25-30% in size. So what we do is we have to rehydrate that, stretch it back to its life size, and thin out all the fat, and take all that the fat dissolvable proteins out of the leather, so that no rot can happen after we're finished the tanning process. So getting it thin is key. I got to do a lot of see a wide array of animals, and especially what I think is unique compared to what a lot of tanners get to work with is I get a lot of work with a lot of northern creatures. So a lot of wolverine, a lot of wolf, a lot of lynx, just neat things that you don't see a lot. You see lots of guys processing a lot of coyote or bobcat and raccoons and other things, but I definitely get my share of the northern creatures. And like I said before, like this was still on the side of my 9 to 5. I rented a shop in town, and some days I'd be there at 5 a.m. Sometimes I got to take the kids with me on the weekends. There'd be times where stuff is going through the process. It's very much a batch system, so things run for a certain amount of time. Sometimes I'd be setting my alarm to go back in at midnight and swap something over so that I could have it ready for a customer the next day. Like, it was just, it was a lot of work. But like I said, I got to do some new things. I actually got to tan crocodiles from Namibia. And the whole time kind of get to take the family through the whole process and get to bring the children up through that. So what I'm going to go through today is, I was at one of our life members, Chad Taylor from Fort St. John here. He has black belly mouflon crossed sheep, and he had a ram that died. These old rams and bastard groups, they're pretty aggressive on each other. They get to a certain age, and this ram got its horn hooked in the fence, and pretty much the younger upcoming rams took the opportunity to pretty much beat him to death. But waste not. So we decided to do a skinning demonstration. So I brought it to my shop and I set up the camera, and I did these step-by-step instructions that I'll try to go through just through the audio here, and I'll try to be as descriptive as possible. But I guess the main thing is I want to give some kind of idea so that when you have a sheep down on the mountain, there's not too much question. The steps you got to take to be able to preserve that hide, or at least to get it home with all the pieces necessary for the best work to be done. One thing some might consider beforehand they go is kind of their budget, and that kind of figures out if you're going to be like a full body, a pedestal, or a shoulder mount, and that'll kind of start to play into where you're going to have some cuts. One thing I see a lot is hides that come in for a shoulder mount, but they're pretty much cut off at the back hips, and that just makes a lot of extra stuff to tan, and you're packing more weight that you're never going to use. So, for a shoulder mount, you want to be the back end of the brisket well behind the front shoulders. A pedestal mount, you can go further back, go back to the back of the ribs, if not a little bit more, just into the flank area. And then obviously a full body, you're going to be taking the whole thing. And so when I get the sheep there, like, you want to find it if you're on the shale slide or on a rock slide or whatever, find yourself a flat spot. And sometimes you got to kick some rocks to move stuff out of the way. And one thing I'll say here is that a lot of work should be done either with a sharp knife, and some work is better done with a dull or a thicker fixed blade knife that you can actually pry and leverage a bit with. I know lots of guys like just to pack the Havilons, but I've seen a lot of sheep capes ruined with Havilons as well. So I recommend both. The first cut that a guy wants to make, what you're going to do is you're going to try to peel this off in an orderly fashion. I like to do it to where you can deal with the legs, then you can deal with the body to the head. Then you can start to do it as you're pulling meat off as well, and kind of keep everything clean and tidy, and then just have your bags open to be able to put stuff in. So the first cut I like to do is on the feet. I go to the back feet, and on the back side of the hoof, right between the dew claws, I'll take my Havilon and I'll do a nice straight cut all the way up above the hock on the back leg. The next cut, I'm going to do the same on the front legs. I'm going to go right to the back of the hoof, on the back side of the leg. I'm going to follow that hairline all the way up and up above the knee. Once I get that done, I want to take my dull knife, and this leather around the shank above the hoof, there's not a lot of fat there, and it doesn't peel very well. This is a lot of times where I'll see knife holes going through the hide here. So use your dull knife, go all the way around the bone and all the way up to your cut above the hock, and that way you can cut right through the joint and kind of open it up there. And now what you have too is you'll have the shank that's still attached to the hoof. Now the only thing attaching that to the rest of the animal is the hide. What this does is now you can use that shank to actually pull the leather away all the way down to the top of the hoof walls, and you can actually use that weight to pull on it and stretch it with one hand, and then have your knife in the other hand. So you'll just start to cut away that fatty tissue, and you're pulling on the shank, and you're kind of cutting down towards the hoof now. You'll start to see where the two toes, like on a goat or a sheep, it'll have the two toes spread out, and you can start to see where you can cut between them. And you're going to want to do the same on the front and back. Skin all the way down to the top of the hoof wall, and start to separate your toes. From there, you can take your rigid blade knife and kind of cut through what would be the wrist joint, and that way you're going to have two separate toe bones going into the hoof. From there, you want to take your Havalon, and you're going to start to just narrow down on the inside of the hoof wall along that joint. So what you'll see the two toe bones coming out of the hoof. Now there's one, if you can imagine, there's one more joint down inside there. What I like to do is I like to cut down sometimes on the hoof wall on the inside on the back edge. That'll cut all the way down. That way I can just have enough room to get my knife in and pop that last joint out. And then, you'll just cram salt in it after, and that's going to be totally fine, and it's not going to rot. But I've seen lots of times where these toes get left in for, up to 4 days, 5 days while they're backpacking out or getting out and getting salt in it. And that's just not what you want to do. So yeah, just work your knife down inside. You'll get to that joint and you can pop that out, and then you'll have 2 nice empty toes. Now that you've done that on all 4 feet, the next step I do is the dorsal cut. What that is pretty much up the length of the spine, pretty much from 4 to 5 inches above the dock of the tail, all the way up the spine, and then right to the back of the head. This is where I like to use the straight knife as well. If you think somebody's got to sew this together later, the nice straight clean edge is the best. I cut right up to about 1 to 2 inches from the base of the horns. That way, when I'm finished, there will be a skin tab that comes over from the front side through the base of the horns, and it'll have a triangular piece on the back edge about 1 to 2 inches. And that way, the taxidermist can have something to sew against. You do want to be careful because sometimes it gets pretty thin in there, and that tab can break off pretty easy. From there, I start to skin down around the edges of the neck and to the front shoulders. And pretty much you can get all the way around the base of the neck here. And just removing the hide all the way around. And as you start to continue your cut edge along the base of the horn, it's a good idea. You can take your finger and stick it inside the ear. What you want to do is you want to cut down deep enough to actually just cut the ear canal, and you don't want to cut the base of the ear or the hair around the ear. So you're cutting around, stick your finger in the ear, and you'll kind of feel and just be able to cut below your finger, and you'll get right through that ear canal. Next
what knife do you recommend for that? Sorry, Josh. What knife do you recommend for that? A sharp one or one of the dull ones?
That you can use a sharp knife for that. Yeah, I do like to use. Some guys like to use a dull knife up along the base of the horns, and they're actually cutting up towards the base. Lots of guys will actually use a flat blade screwdriver, and that's the thing. The hide is really strong. You can really pry on a hide with a blunt object, and you're not going to tear it. It'll always want to pull away from the membrane instead. But I like a sharp edge, and I actually cut up along that base of the horn. But when I get down to the ear tube, I'm gonna cut with my sharp knife. And then most other things, skinning wise, I'll use a dull knife. when I do my straight line cuts or my finishing turning work, then I get into the dull knives, or the sharp knives again. Sorry. Next step is I go right to the back, the last vertebrae from the base of the skull, and I'll take my dull knife and I'll just do a cut along there, and that'll open right through the spinal cord, and then you can pretty much now what you have is the head. The head is completely removed from the neck, but the face of the animal is still attached to the hide, so you can kind of pull that aside. Now what you'll be able to do, I skipped a slide. Now what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to skin all the way down the brisket, the front shoulder, the ribs. And this is a good time. I like to take actually off the neck meat. I'll take off the front quarter, and set that in my game bag, and then I can cut that whole side of the neck off in one piece. And then the next piece, once I get that hide further back, is going to be pretty much the whole rib and brisket. So now I can pull that hide. Now that because I skinned up the front legs as well earlier past the knee, I can now pull this pretty much right back to the hide right back to the belly of the sheep, and I can have that the whole front end exposed of both front quarters, both sides of the neck. I'll leave the bottom side of the ribs until I flip it. That way I'm just not dealing with some guts and stuff under your feet. The next step is I skin down over the rump. So pretty much same thing. Your legs cut off. If hopefully the animal's not too stiff, the longer you leave it, the more rigor mortis sets in. But if you get to it pretty fresh, you can still bend this joint and push it up and actually pull the hock bone through the hide where you cut up the leg. And now you'll have a free portion to just be able to skin over the rump all the way down to the back. When you get down to the back, you want to cut on the inside of the anus tube. So like you can either stick your finger in, or you can cut down enough of the way and pull on the hide, and you'll actually see it start to come out a bit, and then you can cut it. And that just, you want to have some intact. Same thing, you're going to skin down the inside of the groin, on the inside of the pelvis. You get to the testicles, and I skin out the testicles pretty detailed here. And that way what I can do is I can actually cut them, and I can make sure that one testicle is attached to each rear quarter, just for proof of sex identification. And here's another shot that was just the inside of the anus. So now what you have is the full hide taken off the animal, and you still have the face work to do, and the horns are still attached, but pretty much the rest of the hide is able, so you can now pack this off the mountain, and then it's like you're going to have a camp day the next day, and then you can remove all the fat and tissue from the hide and start working on all the turning. For the face details, lots of guys, some guys don't feel very experienced, especially with the sheep. And I recommend, if you get a deer or whatever, and you're not going to do any taxidermy work, do take the time to practice this. Like, it's the first time it's going to take you kind of a Saturday to do it, and you're going to it's going to end up with some holes and stuff. But I recommend practicing, because if you were on an expedition to where you're going to do this back in the bush, you have a half-day camp day, you salt it, and you're good. Like, you don't have to worry about ears turning, lips turning. If you're going to have slippage, this is where it's going to happen from not doing the job properly here and actually just trying to wait until you get out to get it to somebody. So when you're going to prep the head, the first thing I like to do is I take my Havilon knife, and I'm going to go right to the mouth. I'm going to open up the mouth, and about 1 centimeter down from the lip line, I'm going to make a cut in the gums. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom of the gums. So now, when I'm going to start to skin up all the way around the nasal passage and down along the chin, and pretty much I want to open up that whole mouth, but it's going to have a centimeter of intact tissue all on the inside. When we're done, when the taxidermist gets it, that way it'll have a lot of extra lip for them to play with. Now that I went past the ear on the horn too, I can keep skinning down. I'm going to get to the eye. The same thing here. You want to leave enough eyelid intact that they have worm room to play with. So I just stick my finger in the eye and kind of push it back, and you'll be able to, cut on the bone side of your finger, so you're not going to cut through that inner eyelid. Once you get down past both eyes, then you're going to be up to the glands. Do take detail there on the glands. You want to be able to get your knife in. You are going to have to work your knife in. It's surprising how recessed they are. Just don't cut them off shallow. I've seen that. Next step, I like to use my dull knife here, because you're actually just rolling the gum. This is for turning the lips. Imagine you have you're holding the lips now, and you can see the 1 centimeter gum inside, and you want to start your cut there, and you're actually trying to flay off down towards the lip. You're just trying to flay this whole gum in half. So you're going to cut down towards the lip edge, and once you get down to that lip edge, you're going to be able to roll in your finger, and it's going to feel like there's a rubber band rolling over in your finger, and that's what you want to split, is you want to get all the way down and split it. Now, the reason we do this is so that you can get salt in there, and that's pretty much to prevent any soft tissue damage or soft tissue slippage. So once you're done the lips all the way around, go to the nose. The nose, what you're going to see is you're going to have, you cut through the nasal cavities when you took it off from cutting up on the inside. So now you're going to want to split that cartilage, and you're going to want to make the nostrils separate. So you're going to cut right directly down the middle through the cartilage. I like to keep my fingers on the back side here. That way, if you're not going to cut your finger, you're not going to cut through the hide. And you want to get those two nostrils separate. And you're going to feel the cartilage in them, and you're going to keep splitting that cartilage all the way down into the base of the nostril. There's going to be quite a bit of fat left over, but we can do a lot with salt here, and then we can clean up whatever extra fleshing is done. The whisker pads sometimes you can cut off, and there's just a lot of flesh along the cheeks that can come off. The next step would be turning the ear. Same thing. The ear has to get turned inside out. What I use in the tannery lots is just a broom handle. So if you're somewhere there's spruce, just go and get yourself a 1-inch branch, whittle it down and really round it off. So you can kind of push that on the hair side of the ear, and that's going to help you just roll the ear inside out. You're going to be able to, what you want to end up with is that the cartilage should stay with the inner ear, and you're pretty much skinning the external side of the ear, the hair away from it. And if you keep pushing that broomstick inside, and you're just cutting up the soft tissue line between the cartilage and the hide, you'll end up with a nicely turned ear. And try to get it all the way to the point. It's not going to go all the way to the tip. But do try to get all along the edges, and then salt after that. And your last step is the eyelid. The eyelid is pretty much like the lips. You're going to want to, I stick my finger on the inside of the ear, and you're going to see about a centimeter of intact flesh on the inner eyelid, and you're pretty much going to flay that out all the way to the eyelid itself. And like I say, you'll have that rubber band feeling in there until it's split. So what you're going to end up with after that is you're going to have the full hide off now. It's going to have clean edges all over the areas where they need to actually sew it back up. But other than that, it's going to be really easy for them to set the form inside. What I like to do is, for say like a shoulder cape or a pedestal cape, I'll just take like a 500 ml water bottle, and I just fill that with, I like to use table salt, really fine coarse table salt, and that's plenty enough salt. If you get it fleshed clean so that the salt can actually do its job, that's more than enough. If you were going to do a full body, 2 of those would probably be better, because that way you can really cram some in the hooves and stuff into the toes. I guess one thing else I didn't mention there is that you will need to turn the tail as well. When you're cutting around the rump, you cut the tailbone off at the base, and then once it's off, you just want to make a small cut along the base of the tail, leading out to the tip on the bottom side of the tail, and pull the bone out that way. The fleshing's important. I mean, if you can do a good job there, I've had some animals come in the tannery that I weighed one goat after, and there was 11 pounds of meat that came off the hide. So that's meat that you're not eating now, because you didn't keep it with the rest of your preparation, but you packed that out. So if you want to talk saving weight, learn your hide care. Like I said, like what I'll do is I'll do that work at camp, and then I'll salt it. One of the worst things I think for a hide is UV. If you're gonna hang it, if you have the time that you're not traveling and you can just hang it, have a hitch and rail, or find a shaded tree, kind of fold it, salt it, and then fold it skin on skin, and just put it over there so the hair is out. Wind is great, but UV, what it does is it kind of flash dries the surface, and that makes it really hard for us to rehydrate and pickle after. For staining, if you got a white animal, or even if you got a stone sheep, for sure, because it's got lots of white hair, if it gets a lot of blood, it's okay to wet it. I'll do all that work, the turning and the prep and the fleshing, and then I'll take it to the creek or the lake and just rinse it as good as you can, and try to get a bunch of that blood out, and then salt it, and let it drip. All that water can come back out, and just let that salt work. But the key thing is getting it washed there. Those late season capes, like, they're beautiful, but they can also be quite fragile. Sheep hair can break. I think probably the only thing more fragile than sheep hair would be antelope. And then repairs. I mean, we can repair lots. It's just a matter of time, right? The main thing is when you do this job well and you take all the small details on the turning, that's where you can save a lot of time for the taxidermist as well, because there's no soft tissue damage or slippage. So that's like the nose pad, is it intact? Well, if that nose didn't get turned, all that texture on the nose can be slipped. All the pigment around the eyelids can be slipped. So just take your time. If they have an intact piece that's not slipped, the color is good, and they got good, let's say inner eyelid and inner gum to work with, they're going to be pretty happy. So that's pretty much it. If listeners have any questions, they can ask me or whatever. I'm pretty open with information about it, but that's it for the sheep skinning. I think with the tannery too, it's just been so cool, not just to work some of the animals that I've got to work on, but just make some of the contacts. I was able to do, a big grizzly bear for the BC veterinary service that they take around and do training with. Since the very first time I became a director there, like I had a bison hide that I donated to Kamloops that night. So I've seen quite a few bison hides go through the northern and southern. It's a good feeling, because I think, honestly, in hides, not counting the wolf hides that I've tanned for the northern fundraiser, but just the bison hides and beef hides, there's probably $10,000-$15,000 in fundraising. The sheep I get to work with is amazing. Like that's it for me. I mean, I've got to work on stone sheep, desert sheep, Rocky Mountain bighorns, Californias. I've got to work on snow sheep. Snow sheep is beautiful because it has hair a lot closer to, I'd say, a caribou than it does a North American sheep. It seems like it's a lot more velvet feeling. Through the tannery, well, just kind of part of just enjoying that side, I got into the Boone and Chronic Club as a scorer as well. That was they're a club that I don't think gets talked about as much. I don't know if they just don't aren't vocal enough about some of their successes they've had. But as a conservation group, it's a really important part of North America and the success of wildlife conservation, I think. And it kind of gets thrown under the bus as like the trophy group, I think. But, the measurement of good habitat is this is a way to measure it. It was kind of based on symmetry being a measure of healthy ecosystem. But then, you have all the non-typicals. I mean, that you have to account for some of that as well. But, you can tell a lot by what you're producing, I think, on the health of the land. I got to meet great people too, like through the Wild Sheep Foundation, through other works that I've done as director. Like I've got it from outfitters to First Nations to other conservation groups to Wild Sheep Foundation. Like I've got to meet a lot of people that I only ever used to read about. And then going into the projects, like I've got to do stuff that I never even thought would be possible. I got to, working on the Northern Burn project has kind of been the pet project. And it started from where there wasn't any prescribed fire taking place. There was the one year we burned the Toshoti. That was right before I got on the board, and that was in partnership with the North Peace Rod and Gun Club. And then there was some personnel change in the office, and prescribed fire kind of got a bad name. And as far as the benefits, I guess, or whether you're trying to enhance, or what are you trying to enhance, or just past history of burning in the North. So, our membership kind of told us that they felt burning is important, and really in the grand scheme of things, and like maintaining sheep habitat, it is key, I think, especially in the North, and I think it's been going on for a long, long time. I guess how you scale that, how you quantify that, and how you prove the need for that has again been a lot of the project. So it kind of started in 2019. We started a project where we applied to HCTF mainly to get the project started, and it was for monitoring. But we had to do flights, we had to assess areas, we had to kind of look at what kind of habitat were we looking for, and what did we think was achievable, against realistic objectives, trying to meet, caribou recovery requirements of not burning in caribou habitat. So there's so much nuances of what the project looks like, but just being able to fly the northern country and lots of this country that I've hiked over all these years is pretty amazing. And it's not like you're looking for animals. It just feels like, eventually we'll actually get to give something back to what we're trying to do here anyway. But, I guess I've tried to keep it fun. There's a lot of times where things seem super busy, but you just got to remember to smile most days. And, the trip that I'm taking here, I think it's kind of like my family supports it. My kids are being raised through it. They see what I'm doing. They're little activists themselves pretty much, but yeah, they love it. Between the trapping and the fishing and the hunting, we're raising them outdoors. That's what we're doing. But anyway, so it's kind of like I say, it's a shared journey between almost everything all happened at once. That I was into the tannery for about a year before I kind of got onto director, and it was just kind of the last 5 years have been a whirlwind, really. But that's where it's at now, anyway.
Right on, man. That's so cool, and love seeing that. So do the kids come and help out in the tannery? Is there stuff they can do around there? Are they still a little young for that right now?
You know what? They've helped. They've always helped. I actually, in February, I moved out of the tannery. It was killing me. Like I was just, like I say, working ridiculous hours, 9 to 5. And we had our fourth, which was a newborn, born right at the beginning of COVID, right? So after a while, it's just like, I was busting my ass everywhere and not making any progress. So it's just like, you know what? I didn't have any deposit holders. I offered hides back. I begged for forgiveness, and I still got to right some wrongs. But, it was just like take a knee. And now I'm getting set up at home. So like I'm going to be rolling. But honestly, I just want to do it. I want to do it to enjoy it. I want to do it. I want to tan the stuff that I catch. If I can do fundraisers is great, but that's an education. That's kind of where it's at for me, I think.
Right on, man. Yeah, so tons of questions there, probably for any of the listeners. And so if anyone has questions for you about caping or hide care, any of that stuff, how do they get a hold of you? What's the best way for them to reach out to you, Josh?
Sunrise Tannery on Instagram. I think it's actually
Okay.
sunrise_tannery, but kind of that's definitely my tannery channel. So if you got skinning questions or hide questions, send them there for sure. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we'll put that out in the show notes and get anyone that has questions to reach out to you. That'd be fantastic. That PowerPoint's great. And offline here, I'm going to bug you. We need to do a webinar or something on that. And you suggested maybe doing that this weekend or something. So, Steve, we got to tee that up because this is great. You know, people are going to really want to listen to it, and it's so topical right now. So it'd be perfect to have you share that in a webinar format.
With drinks and a panel, it'd be fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool, man. So do you want to jump into project specific stuff, Josh? You know, you do a ton of work up there, and you know, I'd love to hear your thoughts on you know, controlled burns and stuff like that, prescribed burns. We're having issues in the north, and you know, I think we were dangerously close this year. We thought we were going to get one, and then kind of, you know, the burn window came and it didn't happen. So you want to jump into that a little bit and let us know what's going on there?
Oh yeah, where to start? So we started that burn project in 2019. I think we asked it was up to $68,000, I think, from HETF, plus as well for some of our funding. And what our goal is some of the feedback we were getting on burning is that we wanted to be able to maintain spatial separation, right? So that we're not drawing in elk populations into these winter ranges. So then there's studies that have been done, I guess, to try and show the benefits of prescribed fire on sheep and elk populations, but it was combined. It wasn't done, can you do it separately, and can you do it in ways that the elk don't find as preferable habitat. So we decided to focus on these high elevation winter ranges mostly, so that it's deep enough that we're not going to try to have too much elk ingress. Elk kind of want more quality over quality of feed anyway, where sheep definitely like the quality over quantity. So trying to maintain that spatial separation was the beginning of the project, because we felt that the concerns were with regard to increasing elk populations and increasing predator populations. So we started there. That was finding the sites, getting the monitoring equipment out, and trying to see what's there. So we had trail cams set up on the winter ranges, and then we had time-lapse cameras adjacent to that, looking at that location, like from a broad view, so we could identify what's using it and what time of day. And that monitoring has been going on since, when did we get those out? Fall of 2019, I think. And then the project, University of Northern British Columbia, Dr. Heather Bryan, she approached Alicia Woods, our bio that's helping me build the program. And their interest was health. So with prescribed fire, what would the hormone benefit be to the health of the females being pregnant over the winter? So that incorporated more monitoring with pellet samples and urine samples. But that was great because it came with some funding as well for the preliminary flights. And they went out all together and they did vegetation analysis and recce assessments. So we kind of got a lot of data that first year and kind of tried to look at, okay, like, what do we think if we were going to burn for sheep, what's priority area, and then what's area that we think we can get an approval. Sometimes those don't overlap based on different priorities. And then kind of going into this year, HETF has been great to work with. They've been, I think, very accommodating. There was questions with prescribed fire, like what's it do to soil degradation, and soil washing downhill, downslope. So there was some stuff we had to look at there. We brought UNBC in, a soil specialist, and went through kind of what we're looking at, and we kind of prove that at that time of year, those spring burns, that's the benefit, is that we're don't have heat penetration deep into the duff layer. It stays right on top. We're pretty much just burning the fuel on top, and it's just a nutrient flush for the soil. And to get into the willows, you're trying to get that light out, and you're trying to open up those channels for line of sight and predation. But the main goal is trying to get the nutrients into the soil, and you're not degrading the soil. So it kind of did that part, and then, still elevation specific and not overlapping caribou recovery areas. There's some science that shows that burning, they don't want to burn in caribou habitat. That's just where we are. We were really close this year. We had, Flynn Rose, they gave us a letter of support. They're very interested in the project, but they have responsibilities, and they have checklists, right? So trying to manage a project that kind of meets that, trying to be cognizant of the funds we're spending. So far we've had support from lots of different groups that have helped us get this far, whether it's like River Jet Adventures has helped us out with fuel lots, transporting hella fuel into where we're doing this. North Peace Run and Gun Club. Like, it's kind of been a group effort to get to where we're at. So we had the burn plan submitted, spring of 2020. That was for app treatments this spring. We thought from previous discussions that going that far ahead of time was going to be key. We got the application in. There was still some personnel change through the office. For about the last year, we've had the same contact now, which has been really good because we've kind of been able to address some of the issues. But there's many things that they got to look at, whether it's range tenure holding, whether it's mapped ungulate winter range. You have to apply for an exemption to actually do habitat work. One of our areas was in parks. Parks doesn't have a management plan that's against natural disturbance unless you can prove rationale. But we've had actually some issues getting monitoring permits for parks. So it's like you can't prove the rationale to be able to look at it, right? So these are all just nuanced things that we kind of work through, and that's kind of, I guess, the delay in the project. We had the final plan submitted, I believe by October last year. We were able to give it to them. Late May is our burning window. March, we were kind of back together at the table trying to address any concerns. Like I say, it was more around, crossover tenure holders and other values. And then we were hopeful that it was going to make it. We had done lots of pre-consultation, but the consultation period still lasted a certain amount of time. So what happened is we just missed the burn window. And I think, the spring that we had was quite late, especially in the north, like Northern Rockies, maybe not as much the eastern slopes here, but the Northern Rockies for sure. The snow melted and it was green, like quite quickly. I think the southern end, we maybe could have had some better success, but there was a good chance that some of these prescriptions may have not been the right heat intensity that we wanted because it was already too green, and that way we wouldn't have done them anyway. We just, if it is not going to meet the burn objectives, we're not going to light them just to light them. So when we do these applications, so we've still been talking to Flynn Roll about our permits, and they're still in the works. They're actually going to be going to a district manager now, but they'll be good for multiple years. So the next step is, okay, we didn't spend all our funding for this year because of burn execution. Do we want to proceed with looking at, like, this is a multi-year project. We want to keep planning for the year 2 and year 3. So that's where we're at right now. We're looking at areas for 22, 2023. We're resubmitting a new package based on these ones we have for next year. But I'm hoping that, by over the next few months, I should see these 2021 applications hopefully come back positive for a green light. And then all that does is give us approval. It's still, you have to be in the air with the equipment, with the personnel, at the right conditions, with the right humidity, the right wind, and the right temperature, and be able to execute it. So, and one of the reasons I think all our members support burning. I think they know. I think as hunters, we just know, we integrally know what's good for the habitats. And I think there's been stuff in the past that was maybe done too large a scale, but we know the benefits to habitat there. And if we talk about wildlife abundance and being proactive instead of reactive, I think most of our members believe it's necessary. So, I think lots of groups have given up, I think, on trying to execute prescribed burns in the north, and it's kind of been important to us to kind of keep pushing. I mean, to execute these burns, in my mind, they're really probably some of the low-hanging fruit as far as being able to execute safely. I mean, you're burning from above tree line up into rock. Everything else around at that time of year is still covered in snow and the timber. I mean, I think we're doing the right thing. So anyway, it's been quite the learning. Years ago in 2017, I can't remember the name. Sorry, Sonia, but she wrote the Peace Liard prescribed fire management plan, and that was funded through HETF and the government, and that's never been implemented. So it's like I say, this isn't stuff that needs to be learned. We know that the North knows that there needs to be fire. It needs to be done for all species, and it needs to be done strategically throughout different areas and different habitats across the North. So, that's the end game, I think, and I think that should be a key mandate of the provincial government, but it hasn't been. And it could be a capacity issue. I know it's a capacity issue, but it's also a priority issue in my mind, just when we see the lack of movement.
How about liability? Is that a concern or not really?
It hasn't come up. I think when a district manager, if it's their name on that, right? So they're saying that they believe in the plan. I think that they would cover a lot. There wouldn't be a liability issue. That's what I've understood, but we've never got clarification. They've just kind of said, don't worry about it. Once we go through this process, that's a non-issue, I think. And I could be wrong, but I mean, we've spent hours and hours and hours dealing with this. And I can honestly say that hasn't been clearly addressed.
Okay.
So,
yeah. So what are you saying the odds are for a spring of 22 burn? What would you say percentage wise?
We had a meeting this week, and it was scheduled for an hour, and we went three and a bit. And we got a lot of work done. There was still a lot of unanswered questions, it seemed like, and it seemed like a lot of stuff that just through COVID and through Zooms, we just hadn't been time to flesh these out in detail, and there's still such a misunderstanding on some points. So like, when you're trying to justify it to someone who's just looking at it as a form of a checklist, is like, well, is this necessary, is a question. And I think that's a fair question. But part of our project is, and this is what Wild Sheep Foundation funded, is we did winter compensation surveys. So some of these areas overlap with where caribou work's being done. So some of our populations may seem high, or the composition might be great, right? So that's going to say, okay, well, so what we're looking at as far as population composition in some areas might be stable. In our mind, that doesn't mean warrant work shouldn't be done, because we look at it as a habitat value. Like what's the ingrowth? We got pictures. I got pictures of when the helicopter was doing the survey that the rams were running through timber. The timber is like 1.5 inches, 2 inches inside, and one gets his horn hugged on the timber. And he's sitting there just doing circles around the tree. or that I posted one on Instagram of that ewe and lamb deep in the willows, and that was, I think the timestamp on that was early June. So what we're trying to do is provide that top quality forage so that they've made it through the winter. Maybe it's a long winter, but the first thing up is that available super nutrient grass. So I think we're looking at more on a habitat level more than of a population level, or maybe a population like what's our, and maybe that's a discussion we should have, I guess, is like what's our what population needs it the most. And I don't think those questions are getting answered or even asked enough. I think most of the time right now it's where could we even burn? Like where could we burn that's going to be meet X, Y, and Z, not affect anything else negatively, and execute safely. So we have a long way to go to get to where we need to go. But it starts with taking a step, and sometimes the people with the reins gotta give some slack, I think, to let pros and people do what they've always done.
Yeah. Well said, for sure, Josh. Well, fingers crossed, and just great work you're doing there, and keep pushing. And I love your positivity. This spring I texted you a few times. I'm like, are we going to burn? We're going to burn. And you're like, I thought you'd be pretty disappointed when you didn't, but you just were onward and upward and press on and push on for 22. So right on.
Dude, we had like funding approved, and I had the ignition balls, the ping pong balls, like on speed dial, ready to order and freight them up. Like we got down to where, logistically we were going to make it happen if it was last minute. And it was so hard to see it not happen. But in the grand scheme, like if these big ships don't turn fast, and I think the change that we'll make over time will be more beneficial long-term change, and it won't matter who's in office at the time. It won't, we'll be able to actually manage habitat for the future, I think.
Yeah, right on, man. Do we want to talk any other project stuff? I got some other stuff I want to hit on you too, but do you want to, anything else you want to jump into in Northern projects, or are you pretty good there for now?
There's lots of little things. The other work we're doing is just trying to get dollars on the ground, and I think we're doing it where it counts, and I think our members would be real happy. So, like I say, having that Northern account is great. Our job is to spend it wisely and not throw it away. So that's kind of the balance, especially with this fire thing, but I think we're close. I am optimistic.
Right on. Okay, I'm going to throw a curveball at you here. I didn't brief you on this one, but you're our chair of our Indigenous Relations Committee. Do you want to just touch a little bit on that? This is a newly formed committee for Wild Sheep Society BC. You've headed that up. You've done so much work with First Nations relations, Josh. So just give us a little bit of overview on Indigenous relations and what the committee work that's going on in your purview.
Well, when it started, I think it started kind of our first year there. And as good as I do, it kind of started around Spencer's Bridge. We did the sheep count, and some of the local groups weren't very happy with us, I think. And that was Cook's Ferry. And we decided, I think at that time, is that we had to do our due diligence if we wanted to see lots of these projects succeed. So we were able to have some initial conversations. And I think that's where it started. It's like, it's kind of a wake up call. It's like, man, we got to be proactive about this. And then into any, and if that's our mandate is to get dollars onto the ground for projects, and that's a key part of it in my mind, nowadays, especially, right? Like just with lots of recent legislation change over the last few years, it's just something we want to be aware of, and that for our society to function on how effective we are.
Yeah, right on. Okay, let's.
I guess there's more to that. I should answer. I guess that's been a really interesting part of the being the director too. Is I've been able to travel over to Dease Lake to attend the Tahltan Wildlife Conference twice. That was pretty powerful. You know, it's pretty key to see that you can have like unbiased. The whole thing was about wildlife and animals and abundance and what's happening. It was pretty cool, and then I think you bring that many people into that kind of event, and they take all that away with them for the rest of the year. So whenever they're in different conversations, they kind of can have that. So that was key. And now it's kind of grown to working all over, you know, to Okanagan Nation Alliance. Chris has done a lot of work. Chris Barker does a lot of work with the groups in the South. And now it's, for the Indigenous Relations side, it's bigger than what I can do. I just try to do some stuff in the North now. And lots of the other groups, or lots of the directors, that we have in the committee, everyone's kind of working in their local area. And it's gone really well. We're having great conversations. It's really good.
Yeah, man, you've done a fantastic job, and you know you had a really strong resume of working with local First Nations. You've been doing that for years in the North and beyond as well. So you've been, you know, you're a natural fit for it, and and you know the work you're doing is genuine. Like you really want to build these relationships and you know do the right thing for wild sheep and conservation as well. So yeah, it's awesome. So great work for sure, Josh.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Okay, so let's pivot now and let's talk about some fun stuff. So we were referencing this earlier about your sheep hunt. So tell us why this is such a big deal. Why is this a big year? Why is 21 a big year for you?
Geez, I don't even know how to answer that yet. I got it. For the last long time, I guess I haven't really been sheep hunting for myself. I got a ram in 2009. And since then, I don't know why, I was just like I wanted to sheep hunt a lot with others and help others, I guess. And then maybe that sounds corny. I don't know. I just like sheep hunting, but it seemed like for myself, I was hunting a ghost. Like I was hunting for something great. I don't know why that is. I don't know. This isn't going down. That's not how I wanted to say that. I don't know, man. It's weird. I haven't talked about this much. I'll preface this with that, as I haven't been open about this at all. I've kind of been hiding it and dreading talking about it. Sheep hunting is pretty big for me, right? So something like this is pretty heavy. But you can edit all this shit out if you want. I don't know. But yeah, I drew the BC special sheep tag, and it was kind of a shock. I didn't buy a lot of tickets. Like I just buy a couple every year just to put my name in. But I drew it, and it was like, holy shit! I called my wife, and I was like, honey, like I won the lottery. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, the sheep lottery. And she was instantly less enthused. But for me, like it's been a long. I got that news in December, and I'll tell you, there hasn't been a day where it's not on your mind. I know that's hard to explain, but it's from everything. It's like you get it, and it's like, wow, like this actually this means a lot to me because I know like sheep's my life, right? So you're like, oh, this is an opportunity. And then it's like, well, you've dreamt about it for so long. Now it's like, okay, well, what do you do? So I ask people, and people talk to me about it. I'm like, well, what would you do? It's like, because I still, like, lots of times, like, what would you do? So, yeah, that's kind of where it's been. And I mean, sometimes it's almost feel like it's a burden. You know, you dream about all that time. It's like, okay, now I have to make this happen. How can I honor the tag, you know, with what it is and with my life? Like I got 4 kids. I only got so much holiday time. You always joke around like, oh, I'd quit my job. It's like, oh yeah, not with family to feed. Yeah. So it's like, how do you make it happen? And I think I've come up with a pretty sweet, it's going to work. And the biggest thing for me is that I'm going to get to hunt, and I'm going to get to hunt a few different spots. I think that's the biggest thing, as I want to see the outcome is I want to be able to say that I hunted, like, and I really did everything I could have. And for me, that's like going for thin horn, going for big horn, like trying to be mobile, take advantage of the full course of the season. Man, like it's a pretty cool opportunity. It's definitely not lost on me, that's for sure. I think that's the thing. It's like I have a lot of gratitude for having the tag, but some days I wish I could sell it. Like first $1 million gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. And then this is gonna sour some people, but I actually, me and my wife, I put us in for a group thin horn draw as well. We both got that. So first, me and my wife were going on a fly-in hunt here in beginning of August. So I'll start off with that, and then I'll go into later in the season. I am going to guide a hunt, and so it'll fill in some time too. So it's going to be busy, but I feel like I've planned. That's the beautiful thing, in December. So it's like I've been able to kind of move some things. That was kind of part of the tannery. Just like, you know what, if I can just take a knee and like focus on this as I need to, because it warrants my attention, and to have the time off that I have all fall when I'm not working to really, and my family supports me. It's been great. It's been so fun. I think another thing, the only other thing I'll give a tell for is that I wanted to make it as good a hunting experience as possible, I guess. And I'm not, one thing I guess my brother beats me up for is I walk away too much. So I decided to bow hunt it. I started bow hunting a couple of years ago, and I actually got, I took some time at the compound. I shot a lot in the tannery over the years, and then I got some successful harvests. So then I was going to bow hunt, and I was looking at a new compound, and it was crazy how much they were. So I ended up going to a recurve, and then I started kind of geeking out on them in January, and then I kind of got everything together in March, got a recurve, and I just started shooting nonstop. So I've been shooting like as much as I can, learning it, taking bows apart, fixing my bow, and I feel like every problem you could have, like string problems and tiller problems, and yeah, and then all the time just learning to shoot, learning the technique, learning the art of it, right? It's been a roller coaster, but I think that's kind of been the fun. I think when I look back, I'll be able to say I hunted, and I kind of did. It was a full year thing. It was a full year, right from start to finish, from planning, hunting, arrowing a sheep. I want to arrow a sheep with it. I want to do, like, there's years that I pass stuff up, and I think that's the thing. Other shift I've had to make is from guiding so much over the years, and then I don't care if I just get like a cow elk or whatever, wherever I'm got a tag for at the end. I just want to fill the freezer, like if it's a 3-point bull, whatever. But with this, it's like I want to, and otherwise I'm not one to I guess shoot any sheep, is what my brother would say, or something. So this one, I think I had to turn on my killer instinct. I feel like I'm going to have to get set up to do it, and it's going to be so easy to say, oh, that's not the one, wait, or let's go look over here, let's go look over there. It's gonna yeah, I don't know, I'm hoping to see a ram from my dreams, really, and I don't know if I know what that is yet. But
so if you had to, if you could, sort of, and I've asked you this before and you didn't give me a great answer, so I'm going to ask you again. If you had to pick a species, a subspecies, what are you thinking? Are you thinking, which one would you take, do you think? Just sitting here today.
I don't know, honestly. I don't know. And I think that just comes down to where I think I'm going to put most of my attention. I think so. Like, it does give you a bag limit of 2 for the year, right? And I'm not in any capacity thinking that's realistic. I know for the thin horn hunt coming up, like, I've been there twice, and my brother's been there, I think, 5 times. It is a low success opportunity. So, but I'm taking my bow, and like, if the whole year, if the opportunity presents itself and I've done everything I can to be able to execute a shot, I don't know what species that's going to be, like, because I can honestly go anywhere. I know where I'm going to focus some of my effort. And I mean, it'd be south of Prince George, I guess, for there. And everything else would be north of Prince George.
That's awesome, man.
I don't know. Honestly, I can't answer that. Whether it was a Rocky, like I would love, I mean, for a Rocky, what's out there, right? I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't get to spend the last few years. I haven't been able to spend a lot of time everywhere. I mean, that's not realistic for most people. So you try to, it's the same thing as anybody else would do. You start geeking out. You start spending way too much time online. You start talking to people. Yeah. You don't know. Right. So there's Rockies. I mean, I'd love a big dark horn tight to the nose, broomed off like your wrist above his nose. Rocky, I'd love a big, deep broom Cali. You know, I can vision anything, but it's got to be within a certain range of my bow shot now.
Right. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot to be thankful for this tag. So I mean, that's the biggest thing. Is I'm just excited about seeing what there is.
Do you envision a scenario where you get to the end of the season and you just haven't had an opportunity to capitalize with the recurve, and you just say, "No, I'm killing a sheep. I'm gonna go grab a rifle," and you, or are you committed for an archery kill?
Yeah, I think I've pretty much made the decision that I'm not going to bring a gun. I think I've made that mental switch.
Right on. Yeah.
You know, it kind of gets to the point like I'd rather miss than wound.
Right.
So like for me, I put that much more mental pressure on myself to get out and practice every day or every morning. Like I'll go out at 5 a.m. in the summer. Like it's so light up here now. Get out and get a coffee and go shoot before the kids get up. Or some nights like get the kids in bed and I just shoot until I can't see the fletching hit the target anymore. And it's just if you're committed, you're committed. So I think I've made that mental switch that I'm going to do it that way. Like that's how I want to do it. And whatever, man, if it goes to the end of the season, it goes to the end of the season. I could still say that I hunted. No one could take that away. You know, whether I got something or not, no one could take away the year that I've got to have. So, yeah.
What a great message, man. That's so cool. So can we have you back on in December to talk about your hunt?
Well, Thin Horn goes till the end of March.
Oh, right. Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah.
So, okay. Well, we want to have you back. We want to hear the story about the hunt. So,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Of course you will. You'll hear it regardless.
Yeah, I will, but we want you on the show for sure. So, okay, cool. Is there anything else we want to touch on? Is there anything you wanted to talk about, Josh? Any questions, Steve, for Josh?
No, other than for those that don't know, I imagine 99% of our listeners will know, but for those that don't, can you talk a little bit about what the special tag is?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. I don't know if I know everything about it, but so there's two special sheep draws in BC. One's for a resident for raffle, and one's auctioned off at Wild Sheep Foundation every year. They both can be hunted within any area that's a general open season or LEH tag, so pretty much anywhere a sheep is huntable. Big horns from, I believe, the opening day, maybe 5 days before opening season for the regular season, all the way until pretty much post-rut, December 20th. And then thin horn would be from, I believe, the beginning of July all the way through the winter and into March, of the end of March the next year, which is pretty interesting. So like, and that's for me, that's kind of where I get lost. It's like how cool would a fly-in and snowshoe late season sheep be? You know, like make something of it. There's all kinds of avenues you could do there with that extended season. So that's the beauty of the tag, and then I guess the versatility, and then all that funding from the sale of the auction tag. A portion stays with Wild Sheep Foundation, but the bulk comes back through the ministry and into the Habitat Conservation Trust Fund. And then there's a special sheep file where that money gets allocated to sheep projects throughout the year. And same thing with the raffle tag. So that's a different tag. I think it's released for sale. Oh, I think I got lucky. I think most people missed it now that it's online. I'd say, when I look at just our membership alone, it's like it wasn't fairly well represented. I don't think when you look at the odds as far as a fundraising piece. But I think it's released in July or August, maybe, and due in September. I can't remember. But it's $15 a tag or whatever, the ticket, I think. And then you can buy unlimited tickets. So I think it's been a really cool tag for a lot of people. And that has its own whole history once you get into the Illuminati of BC sheep hunting. But yeah, man, it's a cool opportunity. Super cool. I hope I get it again in my lifetime. Honestly, like, I don't feel ready now.
And you're sure the first name said Josh, right? Not Steve?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, just super pumped for you, buddy. I can't think of a more deserving guy and a more passionate guy. You can just hear the emotion in your voice talking about it. It's almost a curse, if you will. You can hear the burden on your soul, really, when you're talking about it and the passion behind it. So I'm really stoked for you, and I got my fingers crossed, and I can't wait to get a text with a picture of a big old ram down. So really pumped for you, dude.
Yeah, man. Thanks. It's a journey. So that's the funny thing is it's all in my mind. It's all this, the whole build up, all the pressure. It's all in your mind, because you can't do anything until you're actually on that day hunting.
Yeah.
And then, what's there, what's the conditions like? Can you get on it? Can you make it happen? So that's the hard thing. Like, to me, I'm just in the prep and it hasn't started yet. So we'll see how it goes.
Right on. Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks for being on the show. Just grateful for all you do for conservation, for the society, and just all the hard work you put in. And like I said, I can't wait to hear the story about your hunt this fall. So appreciate you stopping by the show, Josh, and good luck this fall.
Cool, man. Thanks, guys. Good to be here. And for sheep season related stuff, or not that. Sorry, for sheep society related stuff. Anyone can reach out to me. I'm not hard to find. Mountain Neanderthal is my main one. I go check on Instagram. If you want to talk about northern sheep projects. Otherwise, it's all good. Don't text me about the special tag though, because I won't answer. I'm busy practicing.
Right on. Awesome, dude. Thanks again.
Cool, man. Later.